Hello. Welcome, everybody, to the Streakers Island podcast, live edition. Not quite at night, but not quite in the evening, but 2 in the afternoon, but also not the morning. It is I, Jacob Moore, the self-proclaimed sports analyst who could not find where I put my hair comb. So we're going with the au naturel look today. Maybe I'll go puff the hair out of the way. And, of course, we're joined by Chazzy, the CEO, who he just wants everyone to look up to him, right? He looks down on his heyday, and he's just
I'm from Mobile today. The old, is that what it looks like? I don't know.
And, of course, Mr. Moore for your money.
Woo!
All right, boys. Right off the hop, I want to say I got a message from Mr. Dan Gray, good friend of the program. Who he is on the side of Mr. Dan Moore, saying Florida in 4 or 5.
Oh, I said 6. Wow.
Bobrovsky is on his game. There is no way Carolina's catching up. I completely disagreed with him, and we had a pretty heated argument. No, I'm kidding. We no longer speak. No, but I see this being a very tight game personally today. I think Carolina's going to come out very hungry, and this is a must-win for Carolina.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, win on home ice, right? At least get one game on home ice.
So, Chazzy, I know you've been kind of on my side saying Carolina's got a chance in this series. How are you feeling going into the game tonight?
Oh, tonight's a must-win. You have to come out and put a strong 60 minutes together and take this back to Florida tied. Anything less than, I think Dan Gray's right. It could be 4 or 5.
Wow.
Which, by the way, Dan Gray says he misses us and he wants to come on again soon. So I think we need to have
Mr. come back soon
because we all miss him too. But you know who else we miss right now is Lane Dashing Dashko. But
Lane's at lacrosse tonight, no?
He is at lacrosse. But even when he's not here, he's with us in spirit and in pre-recorded video. So let's hear what he has to say about this game going into tonight.
Here we go.
What's going on, Streakers Island podcast? It's your boy, Dashing Lane Dashko. Unfortunately, I will not be on the pregame, but I'm giving my thoughts a little bit ahead of time through the power of the internet and social media. We're sending in a video tonight for the pregame, and it's a big game. It's game 2 between the Carolina Hurricanes and the Florida Panthers. Now, the Carolina Hurricanes are in a little bit of trouble because not only are they down 1-0 in this series, these are also their second game at home. And, we've seen it in the playoffs in the past where if you lose at home, you kind of end up in trouble. We saw it with Winnipeg against Dallas. You don't want to blow these opportunities at home. But also the Florida Panthers are a very dominant team and are able to get in your head very easily. So it's a big game tonight. The Florida Panthers want to win. The Carolina Panthers kind of have to win if they don't want to get steamrolled in this series. And unfortunately, after game 1, I don't have much confidence in the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm going to pick the Florida Panthers to steal 2 at home from the Carolina Hurricanes. I think they're just a better team. I think they've got that mind game down against them. I don't think they're going to be too worried about their mental game. They're going to get in the head of the Carolina, make them take stupid penalties, make them do things they shouldn't be doing. I still think Carolina could win, but I don't believe in Frederik Andersen. I think that he might be struggling against Sergei Bobrovsky. You look at the difference in the cap. You look at the caliber of the player. One you pay to make the big saves, the other one just has to be average. But I don't know if Carolina Hurricanes can stack up with this offense. So I think the Florida Panthers are going to steal 2 here in Raleigh, North Carolina. Hopefully I'm wrong, but we'll see. Big game tonight, game 2. We'll see you guys on.
This is a big game tonight, and I don't agree with Lane, though. I think Carolina is very much still in this series, and as we talked about in our post-game show, and maybe you guys feel talk is cheap and numbers don't mean anything, but at the end of the day, that game was very, very close in game 1. You had 2 teams playing, I think, better than the score showed, and I'm expecting Carolina to come out very, very hungry. You got to remember, they dominated in pretty much every stat in game 1. Shots on net, face-offs, hits, and takeaways. The only things Florida blocked a few more shots, but that's to be expected considering Carolina had the puck a lot more. And surprisingly, the special teams. which was a shock to me that the Panthers won the special teams battles. Going into this series, Carolina has the best penalty kill, one of the best penalty kills we've ever seen in a playoff run. Like, their penalty kill now has dropped, though, to 87.9%. Which
drop.
Funny enough, now slightly behind Florida. Florida now has the best penalty kill in the playoffs. Carolina has.
Well, they are a handicap. They're playing the Maple Leafs, so that doesn't count.
So, you know, when Lane there's talking about Frederik Andersen, I always used to say as a Leaf fan, I never thought he was good enough to get the Leafs to the finals. However, Carolina is built very different than the Toronto Maple Leafs have always been built. Carolina is built around puck possession, creating shots on the other team's net, and not really letting their goalie have to do much. So I am confident enough that Frederik Andersen can play good enough. The question is, can they get pucks past playoff Bob?
Right, yeah. I'll say that was a very nice video from Mr. Dasco, but I was during round one. People were saying I was flippity flop. If my memory serves me right, if we rewind instant replay, didn't Lane said that the Canes are going to take the series?
He did.
And now after one game, he's flip-flopping to the Panthers.
Where I'm still confident in my Carolina Hurricanes. I think they're a good team, and I don't see them letting in 5 goals again in this series. Like, they're too good defensively to continue to let a team score at that high rate. And a team like Florida that's not really a high-scoring team. However, it is scary Florida's doing this with Matthew Tkachuk only having 3 of your goals. I'm not going to lie. If he can wake up and smell the coffee, this could be a completely different series. But right now, I'm still feeling confident enough that Carolina can get a split. Hey, what do you think, Dan? The Chaz Dan. That is Chazzy and Dan combined. Update number 7. So the Chaznator 5.0, still another update before we get to that update. But Dan, what are your thoughts since you were just jumping in there like an eager beaver?
Oh, sorry, I was dead air for a second. I'm like, okay, I'll jump in. But no, I was just going to say, like, you know, when you compare it to the Edmonton game, like, we're all hitting the panic button, thinking Edmonton blew up in the third. And technically, Carolina blew up in the third, too. But I'm with you, Jacob, that the scoreboard is very misleading if you actually watch the game. If you watch the Carolina game, you know they lost 5-2. Their power play was dominant. Like, there was so much movement on the power play with players and the puck. And Carolina didn't look like that weak of a team, even though the score was 5-2. Versus Edmonton, they allowed 5 goals in the third, and it looked like a team that allowed 5 goals in the third. Like, the scoreboard was very accurate to how the game played out.
And I mean, you also look at a team like Florida, you know they're going to take a lot of penalties. They're towards the top in penalties taken in the playoffs so far. And you have to assume Carolina will be able to get on the power play more often. Right? And Carolina does have a pretty good power play, currently clipping at 27.8%. The best power play to any team. Second best power play, of any team that is left still in the dance. You have Dallas first with 34.9, then Carolina 27.8. So I still feel this is very much a game for the Carolina Hurricanes. Like, you win this game, you just got to win 1 in Florida. And I don't see why you can't win 1 out of 3 in Florida. I'm still feeling very, very, very confident. The Chaznator 5.0. How are you feeling?
I have a feeling Tkachuk might have a big night tonight. However, I do think Carolina has the chance to take this tonight. As long as they get 30+ shots, almost play the same game plan as last game. Just Anderson's got to come up big on a couple more saves.
Yeah, because it's not like Anderson was crazy busy, right?
No.
Like, the man was only facing
less than 20 shots, no?
It was around.
Yeah, there was 20 shots. He made 15 save days. The save percentage is basically 75%. He made 15 saves on 20 shots. Sorry.
Yeah, 20 shots. Yeah, absolutely. So, and the fifth was an empty netter. So you got to kind of
All white. Okay, so I
You
guess
might-
home goals
you
are
might-
allowed, so.
Actually, no, it wasn't an empty netter. Never mind. I'm thinking of the Edmonton game.
Yeah, you putting
they were
words in
allowed
my
5
mouth.
goals in one period.
I knew I had my math right. See, never question the math when you're the calculator.
I just think here for Carolina, they just want to find a way to. I think you got to get even more shots on Bobrovsky. I don't think 32
Yes.
is enough. Our prop for this one was 35.
Yep.
So
He
I
wasn't
really-
tested that much in the Leaf series.
he
So
never
No, he
was.
wasn't.
Pretty fresh.
You are absolutely right, Chazzy. The Leafs were not testing Bobrovsky enough. And I will
As
say
much
that
as they
Carolina,
used to, right?
Carolina had the right outlook going against Florida. Lots of shots,
Yeah.
bumping into Bobby all night. And again, I think if Florida complains about it, all Carolina should say is, well, the ref's right there.
Did you see Sageskov bumped Bobrovsky kind of the same way Bennett did to Stowars?
Now, to Bobrovsky's credit, he didn't complain.
That's right.
He just goes, it's playoff hockey, and
Yeah.
it's fine. Like, we all know Bobrovsky's a goalie that knows how to go on a run.
Yeah.
But I think for Florida, you need to find a way to slow down Carolina's pursuit to the net. Because I honestly think if the longer this series goes, Bobrovsky's getting old. I mean, whether you like to say this or not, and he's one of my favorite goalies in the league, by the way. But if he's facing 30-plus shots every game in a 7-game series while getting ran over 6 or 7 times a night,
Oh, yeah.
that's going to be tough.
100%.
But I agree with you, Chazzy, that Frederik Andersen needs to have a bounce-back game.
100%.
How short of a leash does he have with Kochetkov in as the backup, who realistically has had a good playoff? What game he played, he looked good.
I have a question. We talked about these. I don't know. You lose one and then you're almost looking at the backup. I don't remember doing that so much back in the day.
No, back in the
That's
day, though, I
true.
feel okay. But here's the thing: it depends on the goalie. With Sergei Bobrovsky, I'm not looking at the backup after a loss, even if he lets in 5. It's kind of like what Winnipeg kept doing with Connor Hellebuck. He's a franchise goalie. You're going to roll with him. It's like the Leafs. They weren't going to bench Austin Matthews because he wasn't scoring. He's an elite player. He is going to score goals.
That's
in
debatable.
theory. Well, anyways, we will have a Leafs debrief live show, hopefully with multiple special guests coming in and out like the burger in America. But the difference is for Carolina, Frederik Andersen is not a franchise goalie. And a lot of people don't seem to understand the difference between franchise goalies, great goalies, good goalies, and mediocre. I would put Frederik Andersen in the good to mediocre category. So you're expecting him to, truthfully, he has been playing above expected C in these playoffs. Even with that bad game, he shows a 1.74 goals against average and a 919 save percentage and a shutout. You were not expecting that from Frederik Andersen in these playoffs. I honestly said going into the playoffs, I thought Freddie was going to be a weak point for this team.
You did, yep.
And well, newsflash, he hasn't been, right?
No, not at all.
So
Besides last game.
Even in that last game, I mean, I think Carolina could have easily won that game as much as they lost it. But if Frederik Andersen can keep Florida to 3, I think he got a shot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that's the easiest task, but I do think Carolina can put 3 past Bob, who has been good, but not as good as he was last year in the playoffs, right? Like last year in the playoffs, he, in my opinion, he should have won the Conn Smythe last year. I do not think Connor McDavid should have won the Conn Smythe last year. I don't care if that's a hot take. Maybe it's so spicy that Dan needs to steal some of Chazzy's milk. But I really feel that Bobrovsky has been good these playoffs, but he hasn't. I don't think he's hit playoff Bob yet. So if you're Carolina, you still got to try to take advantage of it before it happens.
Right, yeah, for sure.
Like even game 1, he looked solid, but he still let in 2. If you remember playoff Bob last year, you could put 60 shots on him a game. It didn't matter.
Yeah, literally.
Like, I still feel the Florida Panthers only go as far as Bobrovsky takes them.
Yeah.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. And I will continue to say it until they're eliminated. But actually, funny enough, the stats, when you look at Bobrovsky to last year's playoffs, are very similar. A 906 save percentage this year, a 905, a 232 goals against average versus this year, 229. I just feel like Bobrovsky's was better last playoffs. I don't know. It's just a feeling to me. I got a feeling.
Woo-hoo.
But I mean, funny enough, the year they didn't win the cup when they went to the finals, that was actually Bobrovsky statistically was a better year of a .915 save percentage, he had 2.78 goals against average. So, but to put in perspective, the one year that Florida got hammered in the playoffs went out in 2020, 2021. Bobrovsky had a 5.33 goals against average and an .841 save percentage. I get this was a very different Panthers team, but I truly do feel you only go as far as Bobrovsky takes you in Florida. He drives the bus.
He does.
Going astronaut from Boston Pizza. That is Sergei Bobrovsky.
Are you guys finding this going to be more of a defensive matchup, or are they just going to let her go tonight?
I think Carolina's going to try to open it up. I think Carolina's going to try to just open the puck and just get as much shots as possible. And if they're playing their game, they are not giving the Florida Panthers a chance to be offensive. I think Florida will throw a lot of hits tonight because they're not going to have the puck. We don't have the puck. Got to do something. They can't really defend any other way but physically. So
but they're the best team along the boards.
Oh, yes.
Florida.
I could argue Carolina's just as good.
What?
It's the way Carolina plays. You don't watch enough Hurricane hockey. They're known as a bunch of jerks because they piss everyone off, and they're a team that just finds a way to make a big difference. Right. But speaking of making a big difference, Mr. Moore for your money.
Yes,
who's going to make a big difference tonight?
Okay.
Go ahead.
I said, I thought you guys say I'm making a big difference there. Like, I don't know how I'm making a big difference, but okay.
Who?
I might say,
like
you, Soldier Boy, tell them. Okay.
Who is going to make a big difference tonight for either team?
Okay. I think Sineskakov for Carolina.
Yeah.
I really like his jump and his swagger. I think he's been a very underrated player in the league, pretty well since he came to the league. And because in Carolina, no one really cares about him. And now he's on the grand stage of the conference finals. This is his time to shine. And when it comes to Florida, I'm with Chazzy. I think Kachuk has to wake up. And I think Kachuk has a big game in him. Like, yeah, during the Leafs, he was so busy about the drama about the Leafs beating his brother. I got to say, I'm really upset. I would have loved the Leafs to beat both Kachuk brothers in one playoff year. That would have been incredible. But Captain Underpay screwed up again. So anyway, so here we are. So I think Kachuk, since he was so busy with the drama in Toronto, that's why he fell off the board in that series. But now that this series is more of just a normal series, there's no hatred between Carolina and Florida or anything like that, right? So I think he's going to get back to producing some numbers again.
So,
Chazzy, who do you see making a difference tonight?
I agree with Moore for Carolina. But on the Florida side, I think Ekblad's going to have another big game. He's kind of quiet. I don't think he used the point as much, or he was quiet anyway from the point, but I think he'll have a big game tonight.
Nice.
He'll make a difference. We'll hear his name on the TV quite often.
So I'm going to go very off the board and say AJ Greer. This fourth line for the Florida Panthers has been a big difference since Paul Maurice threw it together in the middle of the second round.
Did he get a goal last game?
It didn't count, but yes.
Oh, right. Yes.
I'd say honestly, I think that goal probably should have counted, but
I think so too.
I think he's a guy that can make a big difference for the Florida Panthers.
Was that the kicking motion one?
Yes. We have no idea what a kick in it is anymore in the NHL.
Yeah, I thought that was borderline too good goal.
And I'm going to say for Carolina, I think Stankoven. He's usually very good early in series. You know, all three of his goals are actually from game ones so far in the playoffs. However, this is game two. Didn't get one in game one. I could see him having a strong performance for the Hurricanes. But Lane, who do you think will make a difference?
Oh, yeah, multiple.
Hey guys, just sending in my props for tonight. I'm going to pick two players from each team, one player from each team, to give a prediction on who I think needs to be the big player here tonight and needs to step it up for each player to get the job done. If the Carolina Hurricanes are going to win, it's got to be Frederik Andersen. I just talked about it earlier in my prediction. Frederik Andersen has to be the guy tonight. He's going up against Sergei Bobrovsky, and whether you like him or not, whether you think he's a good goalie or not a good goalie, he always seems to come up with a big save. Playoff Bob, he talks about it. He always shows up when he's needed. Frederick Anderson was not good enough in game one. He has to be better. He's been good in the playoffs, but today he's got to get back to those numbers. He's got to be the better goalie if the Carolina Hurricanes can get back in this series, go 1-1, headed down to Florida. For the Florida Panthers, I think Matthew Tkachuk, I know he's been a bit hurt this year. He's probably not playing at 100%. I just think that's a guy that needs to step up. He does a lot of physicality. He does a lot of mind games. That's great. But he needs to put the puck in the net more. He needs to be in more of an offensive drive. You see the other guys kind of picking up, like Lewis Starden and Lundell. Those guys have been kind of carrying the load. You've seen Ekblad and Jones get lots of numbers. I think Matthew Tkachuk could put the puck in a little bit more to help that offense, to help the pressure off of some of the other guys. But he does do a lot with the physicality and the mentality of trying to get inside your head. So those are my two players to beat big. We'll see what happens, and we'll see you on the post game.
Nice.
Lane Dashko, everybody. Funny enough, I'm a little surprised no one has mentioned Brad Marchand.
I
And
was thinking about it.
Brad Marchand has very sneakily been and the reason why I say sneakily is you don't realize he's second on the team in points.
Yeah.
And he's a plus 11.
Yeah.
Well, also having 46 penalty minutes. He's
And a lot of hits.
like the guy or hate him, he's been a factor.
That's why I think the Leafs have to bring him.
Still, he's still a very good player. And I think because the Panthers are using him in their third line versus him having to be a top line player, he's been much more effective here than he was in Boston. Boston, he was trying to drive the offense. Here, he can be a passenger. Oh. Not actually a passenger, but he's not the main drive train. He's just the third gear. So he's another big one. And I could also see over for the Carolina Hurricanes, Sebastian Aho having a big night, boys. He is a guy with 4 goals, 7 assists, 11 points. +5, 3 power play goals. I think the power play is going to pick it up today for the Carolina Hurricanes. So watch out for that. But I think it's time. Sorry, Dan, go ahead.
Isn't Aho the number 1 center?
Kind of Aho and Jarvis. And
Jarvis is a winger, is he?
He plays center as well. But I think we have a confused fan.
Next year! Woo!
The Den's back.
Goal.
Well, hey, we ought to give the Leafs credit for finally, after 11 painful years, of firing the Shanna plan.
You know
now
what?
I can go and make forever dove.
You know what? I will give the Toronto Maple Leafs one thing. Hot dogs from our real dogs. That's all they need. But yes, Brendan Shanahan was let go, contract not renewed. Bye, Miss American.
What do you guys think about that?
Beautiful.
Had to do it.
Is he the only one gone?
Yeah.
Free Living's job is safe. There's been no word on Craig Berube, but I would be shocked if he was fired. I don't think he's the
craziest
problem.
Thing you do. Yeah.
Time to clap around like you feel like a room without a roof because Ripson is happy.
Happy.
You know what, man? I'm just very glad to see you're happy. We should all be happy in 2020.
So where are the rumors right now, and who's going to replace him?
Who cares?
Me.
Well, you guys are so upset that he's leaving town and putting all the blame on the president. Who's going to put him in who's going to turn the ship for you guys?
Pinball.
No. I really don't know where the Leafs go from here for president. I mean, you have to find someone that is willing to make a big trade.
Do you go player, former player, or do you go?
Well, we tried out Shanahan, it didn't work. So I think we go completely off the board and get some boring business person or get someone that won in another sport. Like I said there earlier, right? Bring the what's his face? Nigeria, whatever in the Raptors.
No. Yeah. However, I'm going to have a very unpopular opinion for Leaf Nation here. Number one, Ripson, this would be a terrible plan. Ryan Reeves would be
yeah, I'm done. I'm going.
President.
I will be here for the Streakers Island and be president of Toronto Maple Leafs. Imagine all the inside interviews we could get. Okay, I'll give you this contract. We got to come on at least 3 episodes a season. And you got to promote the app. Download the app, everyone. Every Maple Leaf player, download the app. Every Maple Leaf janitor, download the app. I'll be a great president.
Okay, back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity.
I do want to go politics one day.
Oh, good Lord. Brandon Shanahan, say what you want about him. When he came into this organization, this team was a disaster. They couldn't make the playoffs. They couldn't even get over 500. And you can't say there was zero success under Shanahan's tenure in Toronto.
I just did.
Well, that would be idiotic. Because you look at the team before he came here, your best players were Grabowski. Yeah. Like the team sucked. It was bad. And say what you want about him, but he did bring in a stacked lineup that unfortunately just could never get the job done. It's
because he brought a bunch of babies.
At the end of the day, though, you got to realize when you're drafting players, you don't know how they're going to pan out necessarily in playoffs. You're just looking at their intangibles.
Yeah, you do.
No, you don't. And you
watch how they go in the CHL and Memorial Cup. You watch how they
Alexander Daigle.
World Juniors.
Alexander Daigle.
What did he do in the playoffs in Memorial Cup?
He won.
Oh.
Max Domi in the OHL was a 100-point player. So was Connor Brown. And I love Connor Brown and I love Max Domi, but they're not 100-point players, Mr. More for your money.
Yeah, true.
Look at Detroit. They pick 7th-round guys that turn out to be legends.
Yeah.
So I think overall it was Brendan Shanahan's time to go. But he did a lot of good for this organization, and we do have a lot of building blocks. Dan, the Leafs are right there. They're close.
Yeah, but was it really Shanahan that did it, or was it really luck of the draw, right? The only thing that Shanahan did was lose, so he got good draft picks, and then got decent players in the draft. And I can't even say good players, I say decent.
I'm sure if Shanahan put on some of that equipment, you guys probably would have won.
Exactly. Craig, that's true. Yeah, I can see that.
He was a leader back in the day.
Mr. Chasnader 5.0, still waiting on the 6th update. How do you feel about Brandon Shanahan? I know you're not a Leaf fan, but I won't call you a Leaf hater because then you'll get upset. That's how your webcam broke. You punched it.
Yeah.
Well, this is impressive. They're going to get it at some point.
Oh, no, don't say that.
At some point, they'll go to winners and they'll buy a cup.
Speaking of a joke, I went to Austin Matthews' house to drinks, but there was one problem. There was no cups.
You made the same joke.
I think Ripson saw your boys at the golf club yesterday. That's so he's a little
sad. That was disappointing.
But Chazzy, I want your opinion on this as a non-Leaf fan. What do you think of Brendan Shanahan's time in Toronto? A lot of regular season success, but no playoff success. Or very little playoff success, we'll say.
Under 20% playoff percent.
Yeah, but this was probably your best team. And if you talk about building blocks and building up the momentum, then you guys just came short. You fell flat. You had 2 chances to put Florida away, pretty much, and you didn't. And you got blown out in your own barn twice. He can't do much more than, I don't know, put the right players on the ice. Like, it was, you guys had first in the conference. Like, you did a lot of great things. To say that there's no success to Toronto, and you had Brendan Shanahan, like he's a Hall of Famer in his own world when he played, right? Now you had him in your front office, and that's why I say, do you guys go player or do you go someone else? But I know the rumors are Long Island. I think Long Island, if they get him, they're going to be lucky, and it looks like they're turning a corner. They're coming up now. There's another team in your conference that you're going to have to battle for playoff spots. I wish him the best, and if he does sign with Long Island, look out. But if they have the first overall pick this year, Patrick Law behind the bench, like, look out.
I'm going to call this here. If Brandon Shanahan goes to the Islanders, Mitch Marner will go to the Islanders.
Ooh.
Brandon, I
that's a good call. Maybe
the reason why Brandon Shanahan was not renewed is because he said, "Do not split up the core." I guarantee
That's
you,
true.
I would put money on it if I had any. So instead, I will put this 3/4 empty bottle of painkillers on the line. And I truly feel that was what was the decision made. They decided, look, we feel the core needs to be split. And Brandon Shanahan went, no.
Okay, Mr. Chazzy, let me ask you a question here.
So we have a comment here from Kyle Bolton.
Kyle.
Hey,
At
Kyle.
this point, I think I'm at the sell everything stage. Matthew's a great player, but it seems they all disappear in the playoffs. We could not net large for you could get a lot of players. You could get a lot for a guy like Austin Matthews or a guy like Willie Nylander.
That's what I've been saying.
Or
I
a
agree
guy
with Kyle
like,
because you guys were saying the analyst was saying conference finals or bust. And then you guys got a hold of the JT, might take a discount. Then you're all lovey-dovey again. You want him back. Like, what
I haven't decided if I
want
want John Tavares back still. I'm still 50-50. Because now on TSN, they're saying he wants $6 million. That's not half, Mr. Tavares. Learn how to do math, bro.
Matthew too, yep.
And yeah, we seen, and also in the comments here, Wolves sucked that last game. It was bad.
You did.
Again, though, in the first period, going into the first half of the first period, you didn't even have a single shot attempt on the net yet. It's tough to blame your goaltender when you lay an egg as a group. I think that was a whole group.
Was it too much pressure for Wall playing at home those game 5 and 7? Because he played
it was too
phenomenal
much pressure
on
for
the
the whole
road.
team. You can't blame a backup goaltender on that.
I don't think it was pressure because look at him last year in that Boston series. He really
completely irrelevant. No one expected him to do anything. This year he was expected because of what he did in the Boston series last year.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah. That's a good point.
Because he's a believer. We got Shrek in the comments.
Yeah.
Believing that it was. Rips, I'm just kidding. You do not look like Shrek. You are not an ogre and you do not have any onions. But I'm 50-50 on Tavares again because I'll be honest, I'm not paying him $6 million. I think
you're no at $6 million. You're like 4 or
5
5
is my max. $5 million 1 year is my max. Apparently he wants 2 to 3. I want a 1 year deal. I want a 1 year deal.
1 year there. He'll want 3 or 4, no?
I don't care what he wants. I care what I want. I'm the self-proclaimed sports analyst, not him.
So he's not staying in Toronto is what you're saying.
And look, in the comments here, look, I'm not the only one. 3.5 for me.
Wow.
Okay, I get in the open market, John Tavares is worth more than 3.5 or 5 or even $6 million. But is he worth it to Toronto when he has never even had a point per game playoff run for the Toronto Maple Leafs, right? And that's, if you look at, again, we did this in another episode. He's only, I believe it was 2 point per game playoff runs his entire career. And he leaves Long Island, and all of a sudden they're going to the Eastern Conference Finals multiple years, right? So, and you do wonder in Toronto, is it a culture problem? If it's a culture problem, you got to move the leadership. John Tavares didn't even seem to care when he wasn't the captain anymore. You know,
that was strange.
So if he doesn't, I am very torn on what to do with him because even at $6 million, it's a good centerman for $6 million. But I'm just going to say this right here. Would I rather have Brad Marchand for $6 million?
Yeah, exactly.
Would I rather have Sam Bennett?
Matthew Knies.
Matthew Knies is going to get more than 6. But yes, those are the conversations you have to have. Yes, he will. Dan, if you can get Matthew Knies to sign for $6 million, anything besides NHL 25,
the Maple Leafs will hire you as their president.
You will become the president of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
You got it. I will be.
Matthew Knies is not signed. I will say if Matthew Knies signs for $6 million or less, I will shave half my beard and only have a half beard for an episode.
Well, I said 6.5 technically. That's what I said.
That's not what you said. Get over it.
What's Kyle saying here now?
I was saying I understand starting Wool, but I still think I would have started Stolar.
Absolutely.
This is the conversation we had in our pregame.
Yes.
He was playing great before the concussion. I was just happy I wasn't the coach and have to make that decision. That's a great point. Because making that decision is tough to do, right? It's one thing for us to sit here in our basements and living rooms and wherever we are in our lives. You know, maybe we're on the road going to do whatever. But it's very different when you're the coach. And what I don't understand here is either if Anthony Stolarz wasn't healthy enough to go, then why was he on the bench?
Yeah.
Because in that third period, I would have wanted a different goalie and going down 3 when you were down 3-0 going into the third. Because
that team would have
scored to make it 3-1.
Yeah.
If you got a save, that was a game still. I'm not blaming Joseph Woll, but he wasn't the solution either. There's a big difference.
Because that's like leaving Cujo on the bench in Game 7.
I agree.
Yeah, literally.
I mean, not that I would put Stolarz in that same category yet.
No, I'm just saying at that time,
don't-
if he's your pony, you got to go back to your pony if he's healthy.
I agree.
Especially if he's been playing well.
I think the argument was that Joseph Woll just came off a shutout. But even that shutout, he made what? Like, I think they blocked more shots than saves he made that game.
I think he made 20 saves at the most in game
But
6.
Like,
he was more solid on the road than he was at home.
He
was
is.
Not?
He was.
Just with his, and like someone made a comment about the way his angles were, the way his positioning, where he was more out or more in the net when he was on the road than when he was at home. He was like, his angles are horrendous.
And a big issue is with Joseph Woll, whether it's a good goal or a bad goal, once he lets in one, his confidence just seems to tank. I don't know if it's a mental issue he's got to work on to just have that mental toughness. It is, it's a tough sport to play, right?
And you have,
especially as a goalie, because you're on your own, right?
You have 19,000 fans staring at you.
Yeah, it's tough. And now, I mean, I'm so sick of the BS that I've been hearing. Oh, the Leafs lost because of Toronto Maple Leaf fan pressure and media. Give me a break. I didn't hear that Montreal when Montreal went out in 5, and I would argue there is just as much pressure in Montreal to win as there is in Toronto.
Oh, for sure.
I'm just glad you guys came through it, and we're all smiling again.
Well, I think what someone said on Sportsnet, I think it was Tim, and I agreed with him. They said that LeBron James didn't go on about Plusser in L.A. He just won anyway. Aaron Judge didn't go on about Plusser and Yankees. Talk about Plusser. Probably, I would say Yankees probably the only sports team that has more Plusser than the Maple Leafs.
Say that to Juan Soto right now in New York Mets.
Well,
that guy's got pressure on him right now.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like not just hockey, ever teams and ever sports and ever franchise players like what Matthews wants to be, get it done. So why not him?
Because remember, if the Leafs feel it's too much pressure, Tom Wilson will give them this face.
Wilson's the best.
I actually think these are the type of players the Toronto Maple Leafs are missing.
Absolutely, character guys. Absolutely, these guys will put your team back.
Like Tom Wilson was one of the biggest reasons why I think Washington beat Montreal. I would argue he was a bigger piece than Ovechkin. In all honesty,
well, I agree, 100%.
I think Tom Wilson really carried that team, and he was the only one that gave them a fighting chance against Carolina. But that Carolina game starts in 2 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, viewers from all around the world. So quickly. Who's winning tonight? I am saying the Carolina Hurricanes win the game 4-2, with the fourth being an empty netter. Chazzy?
I'm gonna go off the board. I'm gonna say 4-3.
Oh, for who?
Carolina.
Okay. I'm like, that's a score. That's half the battle. I Mr. More for your money.
I thought you wanted the score too. Carolina. I don't know the score, but Carolina.
More for your money.
Funny enough, I was going to say 4-3 as well, but I think it's going to be 4-3 Panthers. I think the Panthers are going to steal home ice.
I don't know. They already did steal home ice, but I don't think
we're going to steal even more of it.
I don't think Florida wins with Bobrovsky letting in 3 or more. I really don't. I think I've said this so many times. Florida's built around goaltending. They only go as far as Bobrovsky takes them.
Well, maybe the third one will be empty net. Maybe we'll go on their own net when they have to go pull to a penalty pending.
Okay. Sure. But I think it's time we wrap up because I'm assuming they're just about to get on the ice and sing the beautiful anthems and do whatever they do in
Anthem,
Carolina.
no Canadian team. Just the U.S. anthem.
I miss Canadian teams inland. But hey, we have Edmonton in still.
Yes.
Which, fun fact, I think Dan Gray wants to join us for the pregame for Edmonton.
Ooh, what a treat that will be.
Ooh, interesting.
That'll be fan-freaking-tastic.
Right in the heart
First
of it.
time he'll be with us
He's
for
up by
hockey,
Edmonton
not
at
just
the time.
football.
But thank you very much, everyone, for watching the Streakers Island podcast. Looking for more Streakers Island content? Make sure you follow us on all the social medias. Every single one. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok the most. Make sure you download the Streakers Gaming app. Gamification, changing the way you fantasize your sports. And maybe you fantasize about the players too. I don't know, whatever floats your boat. But I'm Jacob Moore, the self-proclaimed sports analyst. Beside me is Mr. Moore for your money with the takes that are so hot, Gordon Ramsay will tell him to stop birding the steak.
Woo!
And of course, we have the man who puts the capital O in CEO, the Chazzy 5.0. And until next time,
Oh,
we'll see
thanks,
you.
Kyle. Great show.
Oh, thank you very much, Kyle. Appreciate the comments. Thank you. And thank you to all the comments. Just so everyone knows, we will be doing a post-game show after this game. We go live as much as physically possible. Like, we don't sleep, okay? That's why I always have a caffeinated beverage. That's why Chazzy actually has tape on the side, so he gets medical tapes. You can't see it, so he tapes his eyes open. And how Dan falls asleep sometimes during the show because we're trying to give you so much content. Let's go!
Yeah!
Island Podcast. Thanks for watching. We'll see you for the post game.